Hey everybody, this is Marcus, and I am the reigning, defending WWE Intercontinental Champion. And I just watched Survivor Series Wargames with my friends, and it was phenomenal from beginning to end, especially at the end. I'll get to that in a second. But as it was already rumored and talked about, and of course it was announced by Cody Rhodes on Monday Night Raw, that Randy Orton was going to return to WWE after almost 2 years of being in hiatus after recovering from his back surgery, especially after suffering the back injury by the Bloodline, of course, the Bloodline being led by Roman Reigns at the time. But I'm going to get into all that in just a moment for sure. But not only was Randy Orton's return was talked about, but at the end of the pay-per-view, CM Punk finally returned after almost a decade away from in-ring competition in WWE. And of course, he's been away for a good minute, but on top of that, his return was briefly during the Fox deal when he appeared at the Fox panel, but this is his first time coming back to WWE in pretty much almost a decade. But I'm going to get into all of this, especially what CM Punk's return actually means for WWE and professional wrestling, so I'm definitely going to get right into it. So I'm going to go over the entire card and give you guys my synopsis. So thank y'all so much for your support, and for those who are new to my channel, make sure you like this video and share this video, and make sure that you click on that bell so you can be enabled whenever I drop a video, and we're going to always keep this thing rolling, you guys. So let's get down to it, you guys. So the first match of the card for Survivor Series tonight was the women's War Games match. So of course it was Team Charlotte Flair or Team Bianca versus Team Damage Control. So of course Team Bianca, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. They went up against Team Damage Control, which was of course the women's champion, current champion, Io Sky, along with Bayley and Asuka and Kairi Sane. Of course, Dakota Kai was there, but she didn't compete because she hasn't been cleared to compete just yet after recovering from her torn ACL. But she was actually at ringside outside of the cage, though. That match was really great. A lot of cool spots, especially off the top of the cage where Io Sky actually covered her face up with the garbage can, and she leaped off of the cage onto the entire mass of women that were there, and oh my gosh, that was an amazing spot. Becky Lynch, of course, did her leg drop as well, and that was actually a really good spot though. And there were some tensions between both Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch because they still have their feud and tension from over the years of basically facing each other, but they were also known as Tea Time as well if you look on their Instagram page. But basically they came together, hugged it out, and they actually finished the match. So the winners were Team Bianca Belair. So it was actually really great though. So again, a lot of great spots, a lot of cool spots in the matches, and it was amazing. And so basically I want to talk about this too. The last War Games took place in NXT in 2019, so that was pretty much the last NXT. Of course, the creation of War Games was by Cody Rhodes' father, Dustin Rhodes, which is back in WCW. And so he created War Games, and Triple H brought it back pretty much during the time of NXT, and it's been a staple ever since, but now it's part of the main roster. So there you go. A bit of history of the War Games and me being a professional wrestling buff, and of course continuing to learn about the business. That's pretty much what it's all about though. So that's the history of War Games. So then we also had card number 2, The Miz versus Gunther for this title right here, the Intercontinental Championship. And of course, right now, currently, Gunther, who is the leader of Imperium, the Ring General, or the Ring General, as Ludwig Kaiser will always pronounce him. So, of course, Gunther is the leader of Imperium. He's the longest reigning IC champion. He just recently surpassed the Honky Tonk Man as being the longest reigning IC champion. And so it was a great match between the two. Very hard hitting, especially considering how Gunther labeled The Miz only being a sports entertainer and not a professional wrestler himself like Gunther being who he is, considering that he's a world-traveled professional wrestler all over the globe. You know, he basically made fun of The Miz as always being just an entertaining guy, but Miz actually proved himself, especially being the veteran that he is and being in the WWE for almost a decade himself, though, at least a decade more. He's basically proved himself against Gunther. Now, even though Gunther retained his title, which is already expected, I did expect Gunther to retain the IC Championship, though. So, with a hard-fought victory, you know, Gunther actually won pretty clean. There was no outside interference with his cohorts of Imperium, which is Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. So there was no outside interference on that. So he actually won really clean. So, but I like to think that The Miz is going to get a rematch clause if he has an opportunity for that. We'll find out on Monday Night Raw for sure, definitely in the future. So it's definitely going to be interesting enough, to say the least, though. So, and then we have match number 3. Card number 3, we have Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar. So basically, initially was supposed to have been Santos versus Carlito, but and of course Carlito Caribbean Cool, one of my favorite wrestlers. I saw him actually at WrestleCon. He waved at me, pretty cool dude. I will definitely get a picture of him the next time I see him. But I've been a fan of his for a long time, especially since his debut when we went up against John Cena back in 2003, 2004, pretty much though. So I'm definitely excited that he has another run with WWE. He was actually a part of the LWO himself, actually. Ray actually inducted Carlito into the LWO, which is the Latino World Order. Of course, the LWO is a stable originally created by the late Eddie Guerrero, who was in WCW at the time, and he created the stable of luchadors in WCW to pretty much help the luchadors get some type of TV, basically as far as like TV screen, was the reason why he wanted to get the opportunities at that particular time. So it was a stable initially from WCW, and Rey Mysterio brought it back in WWE. So basically Santos Escobar was one of the members of the newly revived LWO, but he got jealous when Rey Mysterio was starting to show love to Carlito, who he considered to be an outsider and hasn't really been in the industry for at least a few years for sure. But basically, Santos injured Ray on an episode segment of SmackDown, and Ray's in hiatus right now. And so basically, he pretty much cut ties with Selena Vega and, of course, Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza, his former cohorts of Legado del Fantasma. And Dragon Lee, after when Escobar attacked Carlito, Dragon Lee attacked Escobar and defended Carlito's place. So Carlito was on the sidelines, and Dragon Lee took Carlito's place to face Escobar at Wargames. So, of course, it was a regular wrestling match. Wasn't Wargames involved. Dragon Lee actually did his best to fight Escobar. I had a feeling that Escobar was going to win because he just recently turned heel, and he definitely wanted to at least get Escobar back to his heelish ways like he was back at NXT. So now, without being next to Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza of El Legado del Fantasma, basically he's on his own. But when he was in NXT, it was just the three of them. But now it's just he's fighting solo now. And so I think eventually when Ray gets cleared to compete again, he's going to face Escobar probably at the Rumble or maybe in time for WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. But yeah, Santos actually beat Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee is one of my favorite wrestlers. He's the brother of Rush, who's competing in AEW currently. So definitely one of my favorite luchadors. And of course, the Lucha Libre style is one of my favorite styles of professional wrestling anyway, though. So that's pretty much that, though. But like I said, Santos Escobar retained. Well, he didn't retain, though, but he basically got the win over Dragon Lee. He's not champion just yet, but he's definitely going to try and go for gold for sure, though. So, but now we have card number 4. Zoe Stark versus the current women's champion, Rhea Ripley of the Judgment Day. Mommy Rhea Ripley has definitely been on the roll. She definitely has a great following. She's definitely been doing really great. She's been champion. Hasn't been a year just yet, but she's been champion since WrestleMania 39 of this year when she beat Charlotte Flair for the title. and she's been on a roll ever since, though. And so Zoe Stark, who's a beast in her own right, she's definitely been doing great too, of course. I actually had some predictions of what was going to happen. Now, Zoe recently was under the tutelage of Trish Stratus, and I had thought that Trish was going to come back and at least interfere in the match and cost Zoe the title. But Rhea actually won pretty clean. It was actually a hard-hitting fight between both Zoe and Rhea, and Zoe actually came really close to beating Rhea a few times. And I love Zoe's finishing move. Of course, her finishing move is the Z30. Basically, the Z330 is basically she pretty much like flips her opponent over, and it's kind of like a modified GTS. And speaking of GTS, I'll get to CM Punk in a second, and I'll talk about the move itself. Because initially it was Kenta who did the move, but then CM Punk did it as well. But Zoe Stark's move is pretty cool too, though. But Zoe's move is so beautiful, though. I love it. So basically, it's like a modified flip, and then she knees her opponent with her knee, which is pretty sick. So again, Zoe came close to beating Rhea, and then of course, Mommy Rhea Ripley actually retained her title by hitting the Riptide on Zoe, the 1, 2, 3, and then Rhea actually retains her title. So I didn't see Trish Stratus. She didn't come out, so my prediction was pretty much not on par. But I knew that Rhea was going to retain her title, so I wasn't all the way wrong. So yeah, I knew Rhea was going to retain though. But it would have been interesting enough if Trish actually did come out to interfere in the match. But you know, either or, it was a clean victory for Rhea Ripley. So, and then we have the main event, number 5, which card number 5 is the men's war game. So we have Team Cody versus the Judgment Day on the men's side. So Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, and Randy Orton, which of course the latter hadn't even shown up just yet. So they were down by just 4 people. And so they went up against Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Damian Priest, JD McDonough, and Drew McIntyre. They had all 5 members of the Judgment Day. Well, not including Drew McIntyre, because Drew McIntyre is not part of the Judgment Day. But just basically those 4 men, with Finn, Dominic, Damian, and JD being part of Judgment Day. And so, great match. Basically, as far as everything else goes, a lot of great spots, a lot of great finishing moves, and then on top of that, pretty much in the middle of it, this is where the good part comes in. In the middle of it, Rhea Ripley, who just got out of her match herself against Zoe Stark, brought in the Money in the Bank briefcase, which of course is held by Damian Priest. He's also known as Senior Money in the Bank. She ran out with the referee. She was actually getting ready to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase for Damian because Seth Rollins is the current World Heavyweight Champion. And so basically, when that happened, I hear voices in my head. We actually hear Rev Theory's voices, which also know that Randy Orton returned, which was so cool. Randy Orton pretty much was walking slowly. He was making those faces in front of the camera. It's been almost 2 years since we saw Randy in action. And of course, Randy was sidelined from a back injury because of what the Bloodline did to him. And there was actually tension and concern from Jey Uso because Jey was part of the Bloodline at the time. And now that he was out of the Bloodline, with pretty much not being done with, of course, being done with how Roman Reigns was treating him. Now that Jey's out the Bloodline, he's trying to make it on his own. He's actually has confrontations with his brother Jimmy Uso on SmackDown. So Jey's on his own. He's trying to at least redeem himself or try to make amends for the actions that he's caused since he joined the Bloodline. So Randy hadn't forgotten, and there was like a tension moment between both Randy and Jey, and they were staring at each other. But then, of course, all jokes were, well, not all jokes were aside, but basically when the other members of Judgment Day was attacking them, they put their differences aside and they were working together in a cohesive unit. So it was kind of similar to Becky and Charlotte, but of course that's a whole different thing, but it's kind of similar though. But anyway, basically they all put their differences aside. We had the vintage modest DDT by both Team Cody. It was pretty cool. We saw all the finishing moves, the Cody Cutter by Cody Rhodes. We saw the Haluva Kick by Sami Zayn, the Uso Splash by Jey Uso, and then we actually had the Curb Stomp by Seth Rollins, and then we had the RKO. He dropped it on Dominic Mysterio, which is actually pretty cool. So it was great seeing the Viper. And so then another cool spot too, though. So they actually put JD McDonough on top of the steel cage, and so they pushed. Sammy basically pushed JD McDonough, and JD actually fell like this. Randy actually caught him in position, did the RKO, the 1, 2, 3. Team Cody for the win, or Team Randy, basically, whatever you want to call it. But basically, Team Cody got the win. It was actually really cool, and it was a W it was basically a W for them. So basically, as far as everything else goes, Team Cody actually won. We saw the Survivor Series bumper, which indicates, well, hey, the match was over. We got a return from Randy Orton. And then, I also want to point this out too, R-Truth came back too in a segment with Alpha Academy. Of course, Alpha Academy is led by Chad Gable along with Otis and Maxine Dupree. I love Maxine Dupree, by the way. Definitely one of my favorites. She's awesome. She's definitely incredible too. I would say that she's at least my crush too. She's beautiful though. But basically, they did a segment with Piper Niven and, of course, with the current tag team champions, Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. But then we saw R-Truth, which is pretty cool though. But anyway, back to the men's War Games match. Basically, Randy Orton pulled off the W for his team. And just when you think everything was over, we actually heard Cult of Personality. And CM Punk walked out to the entranceway, embracing the Chicago crowd. Everybody was froze, especially Team Randy Orton too. CM Punk has finally come back after at least 10 years away from WWE. And the reason why I say that is because Punk has come back to WWE years ago, but it was basically under a Fox contract. So basically, it was his first time coming back in 10 years. So basically, I just caught that for a second. But basically, it was awesome. Really, really awesome. And it was the first time that Punk actually came back in 10 years. He was briefly in AEW. And when he came to AEW the first time, basically, Punk had been away from at least a good portion of like 7 years, basically. So no one really had no idea he was going to come back. He came back in Chicago, which was the first episode of AEW Rampage. And now he came back tonight at Survivor Series Wargames at the end of the segment in Chicago, Illinois, his hometown. And it was epic when Punk came back for Rampage, the first episode of AEW Rampage 2 years ago. Now you fast forward to 2 years later, he's back at his hometown again, and he showed up at the end segment of the men's War Games at Survivor Series. So what this means for CM Punk going forward, a lot of opportunities. Like, there's a whole new regime in WWE now, and so many matches, or should I say, basically, as far as like rematches he can have to renew his rivalry with certain individuals that he actually had when he first flew the first time. Just like so many opportunities. Then not to mention too, his wife AJ Lee, who basically left WWE during the time when the women's wrestling was actually going towards a trajectory. So now there's a possibility that she might end up coming back, because now you have a field of like so many women that are in the roster right now, in the industry and on the roster, that she can actually face. And it's just mind-blowing. So many opportunities. I mean, it's a great time to be a professional wrestling fan. And I'm a huge fan of CM Punk. CM Punk is definitely one of my favorite wrestlers. I've been following him for years. And I definitely love what he stands for and everything like that, though. But I know sometimes he can come across as he might not be as likable but from other people. But he has a huge fan following, though, especially in his hometown of Chicago. And again, like I said, CM Punk is definitely one of my favorite wrestlers for sure. But now you have like so many opportunities of what the chances of what Punk can actually face, though. Punk can go up against the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Of course, they feuded years ago, but that was when Roman was part of the Shield. And not to mention, you can have a same segment that he has with Paul. He can actually get into a confrontation with Paul Heyman, who's now the wise man counsel of Roman Reigns. And years ago, Paul Heyman was actually CM Punk's manager. So you can think about what you can do with that type of feud. There's like so many opportunities though. And considering that Survivor Series and you also have NXT Deadline and the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and everything coming up, and then there's so many opportunities now. So now, as far as like if Punk is going to face Roman Reigns for the championship, that kind of remains to be seen. Of course, Roman Reigns is pretty much like 1,082, maybe 30. Yeah, last time I checked, it was like 1,032 days as Universal Champion, Universal Undisputed Champion. So his reign is almost as long as One Piece, like the entire One Piece episodes. As a matter of fact, let me check real quick. I'm gonna do a quick research because I know Roman's championship reign is pretty much over 1,000 days for sure. But I want to make sure I got the number right because I hate to talk about something and I'm not stating actual facts, because I usually state facts all the time. But I want to make sure I get the numbers right for sure. So basically, as of right now, we're going to look at this real quick though. So yeah, but basically I want to make sure that I get my facts straight for sure though. But the fact everything else goes, oh my gosh, just seeing Punk return, like I knew he was going to come back, but like if he was going to come back tonight, that was a whole nother story though. So it was rumored, so I knew that for sure though. So, but as far as everything else, let's see, Roman Reigns' current reign. Let's see. Go to it real quick. So his current time, yeah. So yeah, actually, let me take it back. Roman Reigns his current reign has actually surpassed One Piece episodes. Actually, yeah. So let me see. So basically, yeah. I knew it was over 1,000 days though, but yeah, pretty much though, as far as Roman's reign's concerned, as far as like Roman's current title reign, so yeah, basically it's 1,182 days as Universal Champion. So his reign has basically surpassed One Piece episodes, because One Piece right now has actually reached 1,082 episodes. So Roman Reigns has been champion for at least 4 years, pretty much for sure though. So. But man, yeah, almost 3.5 years though. So now whether they're going to try to have him break basically Bruno Sammartino's record, that remains to be seen. So we'll see where they're going to go for it. If Roman's going to retain his title after WrestleMania 40 though, who he's going to face for sure though. He had a really great match with LA Knight, which was his last opponent at Crown Jewel. So we'll definitely see how they're going to do it for sure though. So, but yeah, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, that can definitely happen for sure. Because I definitely love to see him have a segment with Paul Heyman again, and Paul can talk about, like, Punk's return, his history with Punk. That would be really cool though. So, but yeah, 1,182 days, that definitely surpassed One Piece's episode for sure though. So, but yeah, other than that though, it's so cool. And I know one of my friends was telling me that he wasn't a fan of CM Punk because of his, actions. But honestly, despite what happened in AEW or whatever, Punk even said that WWE has always been his home anyway. He recently said that to Triple H. And of course, Triple H basically was talking about how, had a conversation with Punk and how basically they wanted to work together and everything. So, yeah, so I'm actually excited. I mean, again, it's a new regime in WWE right now. And again, I don't want to talk about tribalism, about which company is better than the other, because I think professional wrestling always gets the W regardless. Whether it's WWE, AEW, Stardom, Impact Wrestling. Of course, Ring of Honor used to be its own separate entity until Tony Khan actually brought AEW a couple of years ago. So, I love professional wrestling regardless. You got GCW too. So many professional wrestling outlets that you can turn to. So, I'm like Chris Van Vliet. Chris Van Vliet is one of my favorite talkers. And shout out to you too, bro. So, but Chris Van Vliet was saying that he doesn't believe in tribalism either because professional wrestling is professional wrestling. I love all aspects of wrestling. I grew up watching wrestling as a little kid. Besides collecting comic books and being a nerd and loving Marvel comics, I like pro wrestling too. And of course, I'm wearing a Johnny Gargano shirt, and Johnny's a Marvel fan himself though. So yeah, I love pro wrestling. You know, it's a great sport, and I respect the men and women that do this for a living too though. So it's actually really cool though. So, and of course, I've been to all the events too. I'm definitely looking forward to going to an AEW event because I definitely want to go, but that's probably what I love to do though. So, but yeah, CM Punk is back. So basically, there's so many opportunities that you can pretty much use with Punk coming back. It's going to be so cool, though. So, and again, like I said, Punk can definitely talk about his return. And I would love to see him go for the Universal Champion. So basically, he can try to gun for Roman Reigns. And like I said, I would love to see his segment with Paul Heyman, considering that Paul Heyman and Punk, they worked together years ago. So he's considering himself a Paul Heyman guy. So whether he's going to be responsible to end Roman's reign of 1,182 days remains to be seen. Again, Roman's current title reign is a lot longer than One Piece 1,082 episodes, which is crazy. Of course, One Piece has been around for 20 years anyway, and Roman's title reign hasn't been that long just yet. It's just been like 3.5 years. But there's so many opportunities you can go with that, though. So, but whether CM Punk's going to be the one that's going to be the new champion or whether Cody Rhodes is going to finish the story, we'll have to see where it's going to go for sure, though. But I am liking, basically, I'm definitely like the way where everything is going in WWE right now, especially pro wrestling in general, though. So, like I said, I definitely love it. We'll see where it's going to go because, like, there's so many opportunities. I mean, Punk, technically, he's practically close to being a Grand Slam champion. So, more than likely, if he wants to get another title run, he's definitely have an opportunity to do that too, though. So, like I said, basically, Triple H is in charge now. Vince McMahon, he's still part of the company, but basically, he's not part of creative anymore. So, it's a whole different environment. And like I said, Punk coming back is definitely going to set fire ablaze to so many dream matches that he can possibly have, and also renew some rivalries in WWE too, though. So, and again, I'm definitely looking forward to it, though. He had a really good run in AEW at the time, but I think he's back to where he belongs, which is, of course, WWE for sure. I know there's going to be other wrestling pro outlets are going to talk about everything as far as, like, you know, what their opinions are like with Punk and what this actually means. But I think that as far as everything else goes, I'm excited. Oh my gosh, we marked out when we heard Cult of Personality. It was just so good. Oh my gosh, we all just like screamed and everything like that though. I was like, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. So, but yeah, you guys, I'm definitely excited. And as a lifelong wrestling fan, I'm definitely excited to see where the future of WWE is going to go as far as like what's going to happen. I'm excited for this particular time. And again, I'm not falling into tribalism because I love wrestling, professional wrestling as a whole. Whether it's WWE, AEW, or whatever, I'm definitely excited for that though. I also want to point this out too. I did the pick that Jade Cargill was going to make her debut at Survivor Series, but I think once she continues getting the training that she needs at the Performance Center, she'll definitely have an opportunity to at least have a segment with the women's champion, either with Io Sky or at least feuding with some of the other women on the women's roster as well, though. So, but Jade definitely has potential. I mean, she has the look, she's beautiful, she's talented. So she definitely has to look as far as like what you're looking for in a professional wrestler and everything like that, though. But she's definitely has what it takes to be a future Hall of Famer herself. She even said that she actually wants to be in the Hall of Fame one day, though. So I think, give or take, Jay will definitely be fine because she definitely made her appearances on Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. So she has a future for sure, though. And I'm actually glad they actually had a Performance Center to where you can actually go and develop your skills and to pretty much present yourself in the ring. But Jay is charismatic anyway. I love her as well, though. So she's definitely really cool. She's attractive, she's talented, she's beautiful, all that stuff and all the above, though. So, but she basically has the makings to being a future women's champion. And I believe that. And I think she's definitely going to carry out that mission, and she has my support. I'm a fan of Jade Cargill, so she definitely has my support, so we'll definitely see where it's going to go. I'm looking forward to meeting her as well, so it's definitely going to be awesome, though. But other than that, Survivor Series Wargames, definitely one of the best Survivor Series of all time. Of course, Survivor Series have always had their moments, especially their debuts or their returns. CM Punk, definitely one of them for sure. So, like I said, Survivor Series, of course. The Undertaker debuted in 1990. Then The Rock coming in the mid-90s as well. Of course, then he was known as Rocky Maivia back in 96. And then, of course, after that, that was pretty much it, though. So, but as far as everything else goes, it was pretty much it, though. But as far as everything else goes, it was so good. Like for example, Sting coming back, that was pretty epic too. And then on top of that, when he came back in 2014, that was pretty awesome. So, but then on top of that, it was pretty cool to pretty much see CM Punk. So it was actually pretty cool though. So, but yeah, guys, that's actually my synopsis for Survivor Series Wargames. Great pay-per-view. Definitely loved it. So it was definitely awesome. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for your support. I love y'all. You guys mean a lot to me. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what CM Punk's return is going to be. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. So, but thank y'all so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. You guys definitely mean the world to me. And I'll definitely do more synopsis and do more takes on there as well, though. So, but yeah, shout out to Wrestle Talk and all the other wrestling outlets out there. So, yeah, it's going to be... Thank you guys so much, though. But again, it's going to be awesome for sure. But thank y'all so much for your support. I love y'all. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And again, A+ for Survivor Series. Definitely one of the best pay-per-views that I've seen all year, for sure, though. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. So, and you can bet I'll be covering it and talking about it and give you guys my opinions about it as well as a wrestling fan. So, and I got music coming out too. So, thank y'all so much for that. So, thank y'all for even giving me feedback on what y'all think about the songs I cover. So, but other than that, I'm excited, you guys. Thank y'all so much for everything. And keep it up. I love y'all. Until next time.